Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their brain and their body with biohacking. I'm going to teach you how to eliminate brain fog and upgrade your health so you can have more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast. How has your week been? How was your weekend? What's been going on? For me, we are finally settling in to the new house, meaning most of the walls are painted. My office is slowly getting furniture in it. Like I threw down a rug this morning, and let's hope, fingers crossed, that the audio sounds good on this, because otherwise I have to go back to the closet until I get a little more furniture. And if you've been watching on Instagram stories at all, you'll know that I usually record from my closet because the sound is always better because I've had no furniture in the office. But it is time that we are getting this furnished and getting it back to the office that I can run my business in. So the other thing I've been up to is, if also you've been following along on Instagram, you'll know that I decided about a month ago to take up gardening because I was like, I need some kind of hobby that is not work related and not being a parent related, something that is just for me. So I took up gardening, and I did it for a couple reasons. I wanted to grow my own food because I wanted to know, where it came from and all of the stuff like that. And I also really wanted to teach my daughter Hannah about plants and being gentle with plants because she really just likes to grab them and, break them. So teaching her to be gentle, and about food, just where it comes from, how it grows, what a plant looks like when it's growing. But I have to tell you, nobody told me that gardening was not cheap. In my house that I'm in right now, we have access to a really big front yard, and we have a big deck in the back. So I wanted it to be somewhere that I could access, because last time when I was living in my old townhouse, we had these garden boxes, but you couldn't see them from your house. So I can't tell you, there was 3 years in a row that I planted vegetables, and then they died because I completely forgot about them. So I was like, this has to be somewhere that I can see every single day so I don't forget to water it, because I don't want to die again, right? So I bought this planter for my deck. It is huge. It is a 390 liter planter. So just to give you an idea, it's 6 feet long by about 2.5 feet deep, and it comes up to my waist. So it is a very big planter. And this was not a cheap planter. I found that it was, just over $300 for this planter. It's crazy. And then, by the time you buy the organic dirt to fill this massive planter, that was like another $150. And then, you need seeds, and I wanted them to be organic and non-GMO. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a very expensive hobby, especially the way I want to do it on my deck. And why I'm talking to you about gardening, because it is a form of biohacking. We talk about biohacking as having things and, strategies and habits in your life that create more longevity and wellness and focus and alertness and feeling well rested. Well, this really helps my mind and help me feel less stressed. And there's 2 big reasons that I chose gardening. Number 1, it makes me so excited to eat fresh produce, and it's pesticide free. I know where it came from, and I can teach my daughter about it. But number 2, it also gives me something to focus on and be present with. Meaning, like, when you're in the dirt with your hands and you're digging and you're picking up leaves and you're watering it, I'm present. I'm focusing on my garden, and that lowers stress. And on top of that, I love watching something grow. It is just so magical watching seeds sprout and turn into plants. Anyways, I'm really loving the gardening right now, but it's not cheap. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I've been biohacking a while now, and it can get expensive. And I think that's one of the biggest criticisms that the whole field of biohacking gets, is that it is very expensive. There are a lot of things that cost a lot of money, and this is 100% true. And this is why I wanted to make this episode for you today, all on how you can apply biohacking in a way that doesn't cost a single penny. So I'm even just, thinking of some of the things I've spent money on in the last year or 2 when it comes to biohacking. And I've spent probably, over a couple $1,000 biohacking so far. And, getting things like an Oura Ring and a Fitbit, subscriptions to different apps like Brain FM. And I have 2 pairs of different colored blue light blockers for different times of the day. I have bought hundreds of dollars worth of pillows, sleep masks, curtains, sound machines, books. Oh, even switching over to organic non-GMO GMO food. That was expensive. Making our whole home gym and my Peloton app and switching over to glass food containers versus plastic, getting a standing desk and buying a monitor for my computer that was height adjustable so I had great posture while I was, recording podcasts and talking to clients. Like, all of these things cost money. But I'm also what I like to call a practical biohacker, because honestly, if you get deep into biohacking and if you even Google search biohacking, there are so many things that you can invest in the field of biohacking. I mean, like, there's even bed sheets you can lay on that help ground you to the earth. And there are mats which have pulsed electromagnetic frequencies that, help neutralize the ionic charge in your body. You can get stem cell injections and cryotherapy and portable saunas, inversion tables, apps, drip there. Oh my gosh, you're probably just at this point like, say what? What is all of that? And there's a reason that I don't talk a lot of that, of the biohacking field on this podcast, is because I only talk about exactly what I do, what has benefited me, and what I do with my clients. So like I said, I am the practical biohacker that does enjoy spending a little bit of money on this. But, it is so easy to get overwhelmed with all of the stuff that's out there. And it can kind of feel with your health, especially in this biohacking field, that you are on a hamster wheel, meaning you try something new. Maybe you're just like, oh, I love when Tanessa talks about sleep and I'm really going to get good at biohacking my sleep. Oh, but now she's talking about forest bathing. I got to try that too. And it can constantly feel like you're playing catch up with all of the health habits that you want to be trying. And it's easy to get overwhelmed. So one of the things that I really like to instill in my clients and think about myself is that biohacking is a mindset. And it's not about the cost. Biohacking is always about, what can I do in my life right now that can either affect my external environment or my internal environment? How can I optimize my health in a way that creates a ton of longevity and wellness, and I'm focused and alert and I'm present and I'm waking up with the energy I need and we're not dragging throughout the day? That's what I like to think of when I talk about biohacking as a mindset. You are looking at the outcome and not the tools to do it. So having said that, I'm so excited to jump into today's episode where I'm going to be giving you my top 10 biohacks that will not cost you a thing. Now think about this. Keep it actionable. I'm going to give you 10. Doesn't mean you need to start doing all 10 of them right now, but I want you to kind of keep a checklist going in your head of which ones you are doing and which one you would like to start doing today. Okay? All right, so let's jump into number 1. Free biohack number 1 is just get out in the sun. Now, I have to say this biohack specifically will not work if you are covered in clothes and sunscreen. Now, I'm not saying go out in the sun and get a really bad sunburn. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in small, smart doses of sun exposure can actually do wonderful things for your body. So not only does it help with the synthesis of the hormone vitamin D, but it can help reset your circadian rhythm. And remember, that's that rhythm that your body follows that tells us when to increase body temperature, decrease body temperature, how to change your heart rate, what your sleep-wake cycles is, all of that kind of stuff, hormone release. So when you expose yourself to daylight, specifically first thing in the morning, like within, a couple hours of the sun rising, it actually resets your melatonin release. So our brain, we have a natural recycle rate of 14 to 16 hours between when we wake up and when we need to go to sleep. So by looking with our eyeballs, not through sunglasses, and we're out in the sunlight, it actually helps reset our melatonin so that it starts releasing on time that night. This really helps improve your sleep. Getting out in the sun is also amazing for your mood and your energy because that sunlight really helps to facilitate the creation of serotonin. That's that neurotransmitter that makes us feel really good. Melatonin, that's that one that helps us have solid quality sleep. And dopamine, which is actually a neurotransmitter that's about reward seeking and pleasure. Seeing that blue light, even on a cloudy day that is coming from the sky, helps wake us up and tell our brain that we want to feel alert. So if you ever wake up and you had a poor sleep or you're just not feeling very good, getting outside for 10 minutes in the morning, even if it is a cloudier day, is going to do wonders for your energy. It's also great for your heart. It lowers your blood pressure and a ton of other things. So how can you implement this? Like I said, jump outside for 10 minutes first thing in the morning when it starts to get a little bright out and the sun starts to rise. If you want to be a super overachiever, try another 10 minutes in the afternoon. If you can't time it, and it's a little bit different every day, just focus on, hey, is the sun hitting my skin and my eyes without sunscreen and without sunglasses for 10 minutes per day? This is what we're aiming for. All right, free biohack number 2. Go to bed on time and get enough sleep. I know this sounds super basic and like it's something we should all be doing, but this is one of the things that I coach my clients on again and again. And it's that dance that we do at the end of the night when we're feeling really exhausted from a day. And so what we do is we collapse onto the couch and watch Netflix, and then the Netflix show will end, and then we're like, I'll just watch a little bit more, like just to the intro of the next show. And then you watch that and it ends up being a little longer and you're telling yourself you're so tired, you're too tired to get up and go to sleep, right? Where we know if we just got up and went to sleep, we'd probably have a better night's sleep, but we're too tired. So it disrupts our sleep. We wake up the next morning feeling tired and the whole cycle continues. So one of the best things that you can do is actually set a bedtime for yourself. It is a non-negotiable time that the TV goes off. In our house, it's 7:30 p.m. Now, keep in mind, we're also usually asleep by 9 p.m. in our house. So think of maybe winding back an hour and a half before your bedtime and turning off the TV so that your sleep cycle isn't consistently disrupted. Because not only are you getting blue light from the screen, but everything you're watching acts as stimulation for your brain, keeping your brain wide awake, charged, processing, making decisions. That stimuli is coming in and it is not allowing you to wind down. And we end up in that too tired to go to bed feeling. One of the best things you can do for yourself is literally get up and go to sleep at the time you say, no matter how much your brain complains. And what you'll find is that after a couple of nights of getting a full 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that you won't feel so tired at night. So you won't need to collapse onto the couch and just watch Netflix. Maybe you can go walk your dog or hang out with your kids or, get out in the garden. That's kind of what I've been liking to do. And this is something that you gain back with your life when you are not feeling so tired all the time. And just as a really quick plug, this is what I do with my clients. I help my entrepreneurial clients go from feeling tired and drained with those midday energy slumps and they dread waking up because the days just feel so tired. I help them take back their health and become well-rested CEOs. And one of the ways I do that is by helping them biohack their sleep with a ton of strategies that make them feel really clear. So if you need help with your sleep, or even if it's your food and your stress, or you don't even know where to start and you just want someone to guide you through the process of really optimizing your brain so that you can show up as a high-performing CEO and be better in your business, click the link in the description. It's at TanessaShears.com/call, and you can book in a 1-hour consultation with me and we can talk exactly about, hey, here's what you're struggling with, here's how I can help, and we can talk about moving forward from there. Okay, let's jump into the free biohack number 3. That is log out of social media. We all get caught up in this and I am no better at it. And it is something that I'm always having to check myself with. I think this is one of the biohacks, honestly, that I struggle with the most sometimes. And I've talked about it before on the podcast that I actually have a separate phone in which I keep my social media on a phone and I keep my, texts and calls and WhatsApp with my family on another phone so that I can completely disconnect. But we need to practice actually having intentional social media time, because I know a lot of us, we just pop on there for a second and then it's, we've lost half an hour of our day and we're scrolling comment sections. And, with the world being in such a, judgmental, trigger happy place right now where there is a lot of hate and judgment and, anger on the internet right now, I think it is a time that we need to not check out of the social issues that are important for us, but make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and not being consumed by all of the comparison to someone else in their business or someone else's body or, someone else's relationship. Just making sure that we're checking in and not letting media be a toxic influence, because any media company you listen to, even all the Instagram accounts, their content is always filtered through their lens and their perception. So we need to make sure that the influences we're letting into our brain are always for our better good. And if it is causing us to feel triggered, we need to make sure that we are having time away from that and not exposing ourselves to that constant sensationalism, the clickbait headlines that are getting our heart rate pumping. And like I said, this one doesn't need a lot of explaining, because we know those days where we spend too much time on social media, our mental health suffers. We end up absorbing a lot of negative thoughts and stuff like that. So how are we going to do this? I honestly recommend having either, like I said, a second phone just for your social media, and you don't need to go buy one. We all have old phones kicking around the house where we've upgraded to new phones. But a really good way to do this is actually just set a phone cutoff time, or decide intentionally a block of time where you are going to spend on social media and spend the rest of the day off of it. This one alone, I've worked with many clients on, and seeing the transformation in their mental health, even with just a week away, has been astounding. And I highly suggest, if you're really in for it, try a week without social media and see how you feel at the end of that week. Okay, free biohack number 4. Earthing or grounding. So the concept behind earthing or grounding is letting your body and your skin get into contact with the earth and its natural elements. Now, you can't do this with your shoes on. So this is one of those things you're going to have to pull your shoes off and get barefoot. So connecting with our feet, with the ground, and I'm talking about sand, dirt, the grass, rocks, water is a fantastic one, are all ways to allow your skin and to come into contact with the earth and ground. Not your deck, not your driveway, not a wooden dock. I'm talking actually substances that are connected to the earth. So the idea behind this is that we are energetic beings. We are made up of ions and we carry a charge. So our human bodies actually build up a positive charge as our metabolism happens in our bodies, and grounding exposes us and our body to the natural magnetic frequencies produced by the earth. So when we ground and we touch the ground with our skin, whether that be our legs, our feet, our hands, we actually get in contact with the negative ions that are in the earth. Remember, we are positive, the earth is negative. And when we connect to the earth, we release those positive ions that accumulate with, cellular metabolism. So when the excess positive charge builds up in us, there's actually been studies now that are coming out that are showing that it actually increases inflammation and messes with the metabolism in our cells. It's crazy. So research is showing us that grounding, spending time grounding per day, can decrease pain, can decrease fatigue and inflammation. We know all of these things lead to brain fog. And if we want to be sharp in our businesses, this is a great free way to do it. So how do you do it? Honestly, pull your shoes off and get out in your grass or in some rocks or some gravel or something like that with your feet. If you have access to being near a lake, or a body of water, a river, go stand with your feet in it. What a treat for yourself, right? Or get your hands in the dirt and spend some time gardening. These are all great ways to do it. And you can spend, 10 minutes is a really good starting point. Just commit to 10 minutes per day of getting out and grounding with the earth. One of the things I really like to do is go and sit out on our grass. And my daughter, she runs around in her bare feet. I sit there, I let my legs touch the grass. Yeah, there's some bugs sometimes, but I think it's kind of fun. Start there and then work your way up as you notice the benefits. And I know some experts recommend 40 minutes. I don't personally have 40 minutes to always sit outside and do grounding. So start small. Start with 10 minutes, and you can combine this with sun exposure that we talked about in our first biohack. So if it's nice and sunny, you can get out, sit in the grass, get some sun, and help your body really recharge. All right, biohack number 5 that is free is cold showers. I get a ton of pushback from my clients and just from my audience on Instagram, funny enough, about cold showers, but it is fantastic. And it is some of the science behind cold showers is actually based on something called cold thermogenesis. So you might not know this, but you actually have 2 types of fat on your body. White adipose tissue is the stuff that we always think of as fat. So that's the stuff that might accumulate, on our arms and our stomach and our legs. Where brown adipose tissue, so it's called brown fat, actually sits around our core center. So our rib cage, our clavicles, which are your collarbones, in that area. So the difference is the fat that sits around our midsection and our legs, that's just sitting there. It's waiting for us to use it as extra energy, right? But the difference with brown fat is it generates heat by mobilizing. That means like liberating and breaking down the stored white fat. That is the fat that we traditionally associate with fat we don't love. So the brown fat actually helps us break down white fat and create heat. So how do we activate that? By getting cold on purpose. Another benefit is actually that it is shown cold showers to enhance your immune system, increase the longevity of your cells, and most importantly, reduce levels of inflammatory molecules, right? And not only is this great for our brains, but it helps enhance recovery. So there are two ways you can start implementing cold showers. Number one is something that I started with. It is a hot-cold contrast therapy. And I know that I think it's Ben Greenfield actually talked about doing hot, cold contrast on and off for 5 minutes. And I think he does something like, it's like 20 seconds of cold, 10 seconds of hot, alternate that 10 times, and that'll take you 5 minutes. So that's where I started because I was like, oh my gosh, cold showers are the worst. But the crazy thing is when you do them long enough, your body actually adapts to them. It's so fascinating and they don't feel so cold anymore. So now I just do straight 5-minute, 10-minute ice cold showers. And when I get out, I feel awake, alert, refreshed, sharp, and focused because cold showers, they stimulate a branch of your nervous system called your sympathetic nervous system. And that is known as our fight or flight system, but it doesn't stimulate it to the point where it is detrimental, but to the point where we have those mild effects of just being like, oh, I'm awake, oh boy. And the deep breathing, if you've ever had a cold shower or jumped in a cold lake, you'll notice one of the first things you do is take a very big deep breath. This is wonderful for our body. So cold showers is a very great free way to, start biohacking your body. And I mean, cold water, we have it in our showers. Why not use it? Biohack number 6, we need to learn how to breathe properly and then do it slowly and intentionally. So often when we're sitting at our desks all day, or even if, there's a lot of overwhelm or anxiety, or maybe you were triggered by something you saw on Instagram, or you're feeling stressed out, we start doing shallow chest breathing. And what this does is it disconnects us from our body and creates a lot of tightness. I am also guilty of this. And I find that if I ever get into a cycle of anxiety or overwhelm or worry, my breathing becomes very shallow. So I want you to try something. I mean, if you're driving, keep your hands on the steering wheel. But if you're walking or you're just hanging out in your backyard listening, try this. Put your hands on your stomach, right about at your belly button. Now, when you inhale, I want you to think of pushing your hands out by expanding your belly as you inhale. So as you bring air down into your lungs, the muscle that causes inhalation, called your diaphragm, drops into your stomach, which allows it to expand out. So as you inhale, your belly should expand. Now, as you exhale, your belly should retreat, should come back in. So you should be doing deep belly breathing. So many times when I work with my clients on their breathing and I ask them to take a deep breath, you know what moves? Their shoulders. They get their shoulders come up to their ears and then they drop down, or their chest expands and then it contracts. But I really want you to focus on breathing through your stomach. Now, there is a little trick that I've actually learned from biohacker Ben Greenfield. He actually keeps a kite string at his desk, but a shoelace or something else that's soft like that works just as well. If you are sitting at your desk, I want you to tie that shoelace or that string around your belly button and focus on feeling the pressure against the shoelace or the string as you breathe in and your belly expands, and then as it retreats. And it's a physical, tactile reminder to keep belly breathing. And you can incorporate this type of breathing, honestly, just during your day, and it'll do wonders for your cortisol levels and your presence and your stress levels. But if you want to take it up a notch, do it with meditation. Sit quietly for 5 minutes outside. Just take some time to slow down. It really lowers stress. It activates that other branch of the nervous system called your parasympathetic response that is responsible for resting and digesting, and it really makes you feel present and at ease. So the string is your first how-to. Just use it while you're working and be conscious of your breathing. And the second one is take some time, 5 minutes at a time, to really just focus on your breathing and have that sole focus be on your inhale and your exhale into your belly. Biohack number 7 is going to be to stop eating poor quality fats. So what I'm talking about here are polyunsaturated fatty acids, also called PUFAs. And there are actually 2 kinds. There's omega-6 that are considered a polyunsaturated fatty acid and omega-3s. I actually just did a full episode on the difference between these 2 types of fat. So if you're really wanting to dive into this, the episode was called, Are You Eating This Brain Food? And so go back to that if you want to listen in detail. But essentially, what actually is the problem is not that there are omega-6 fats, it's that there is an imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3 fats. So omega-6 fats tend to promote inflammation in our body, whereas omega-3 fats tend to promote anti-inflammatory effects. So what the oils we want to eliminate are things like canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, etc., etc., etc. So if you look at almost any packaged food and you flip it over on the back, if you see canola oil or vegetable oil or one of those oils, it might be a food you want to consider ditching, as it really creates highly unstable cells in our body. And now when we talk about our brain specifically, we want those cell membranes, the body of the cell that goes around the outside, kind of equivalent to our skin. We want the cell membranes to be flexible and fluid so that we can communicate effectively from cell to cell through the receptors that are on the surface. But when we start taking in too many of these poor quality, unstable fats, what happens is the cell membranes become thick and rigid, and it disrupts the quality of the receptors on the surface. So what ends up happening is communication between these cells, it slows down, and we get slower thinking and brain fog. So a really quick way to fix this is replace those fats in your diet with healthy omega-3 fats. So think things like olive oil that is used at room temperature. If you're going to be cooking, avocado oil is wonderful. Butter is great. Coconut oil. There are so many great options for you to use. So definitely check back into that episode that I talked about. Are you eating this brain food? If you want to know more about these type of fats. Number 8. Go for a walk or move. This is free to move your body, and specifically I want to talk about walking, because walking is one of those things that when I've had conversations with clients, they tell me things like, it doesn't feel like a good use of my time. If I have an hour to exercise, I should really be hitting it hard and, getting a good sweat on. And while there is room for that, I also think we need to make time just to move our body and be physically active and not always be focused on exercise as the outcome, right? Walking and moving is amazing for our mood, and it boosts our energy, not only because we're moving our body the way it was supposed to be moved, but we are likely outside in the sun, right? And that is stimulating all of those wonderful things we talked about in free biohack number 1. Walking and moving is great for your joints, your bones, your muscles, your body, and your heart. It is literally one of the most simple, free, and best things you can do for overall health. It even helps to lower your blood sugar, especially when it's done after a meal. So it's called a postprandial walk. You walk after you've eaten a meal, and any type of movement like that, specifically if you do walking or exercises, here's something sciencey for you. There's actually transporters in your cell, your muscle cells, called GLUT4 transporters. And when we move our bodies and use our muscles, those transporters are brought to the surface, and they help bring sugar from your blood, from carbohydrates and other things in your food, into your muscle cells and bring your blood sugar down. Now, blood sugar staying stable has a bunch of wonderful benefits, everything from clear thinking to stable energy to healthy body weight, lower inflammation, so many things. The other things that I really love about a walk and moving our body is it just gives you time to think, time to be alone with your thoughts, or even to catch up on your favorite podcast episode. I love to use walking as a way of reconnecting with my husband after a week. We try every week to go on an intentional walk that is at least an hour, where we can just catch up and talk about our goals for the future and just spend that time reconnecting. If you want to do a bonus, do it in the forest. There was an episode that I actually just did all about forest bathing and the benefits of being, under trees and in nature and what that does for our immune system and everything like that. So check out that episode if you want to learn all about forest bathing. But how can you implement this? Really simple. Plan a short block of time. Just start small, 20 minutes to get outside and go for a walk. Either catch up on a podcast episode, connect with someone, make time to move your body. This doesn't cost anything, and the benefits are amazing. We're rounding up on our last 2 biohacks. Number 9, listen better. This was something that I learned from my business coach, Stacey Bayman, and she talked about this idea of being a very good listener as a method of improving your business. And I noticed how much it actually just improved my mental wellness. When we listen better to other humans, and I mean listening with the intention of hearing and not just, waiting for them to stop talking so that we can say the thing we've been thinking about the whole time they were talking. When we listen better, it allows for better human connection. And there are so many studies which have shown the benefits of human connection on just literally how many years you live. Like I think there was one study done where they showed that married people lived so much longer than single people because of that human connection, right? So spend some time listening, really understanding where people are coming from without judgment and without having a whole conversation in your own head about your own thoughts about what they're thinking and the judgments and the thinking we know better and all that. Just listen to connect to another human. The other thing I really love about this is it really allows us to cultivate presence, that idea of being in the moment and not in our head thinking about the past, the present, somewhere else, being present. This really lowers cortisol, and we know cortisol kills brain cells. It affects our ability to be present and enjoy our life, right? And if we want to make listening better, if you're with someone that you have an intimate relationship, physical touching while listening, like hugging or holding hands or even, touching feet, this is something that can bring in a great sense of joy. And I think we take for granted how much joy is like the ultimate biohack. Lowers blood pressure, lowers heart rate, increases feelings of wellness and longevity and peace. Like biohacking isn't always all about the health side of it, meaning like the sleep and the movement. Sometimes it's really just about how you're feeling. So ask yourself this, on a conversation today, can you focus on being completely present and listening during the conversation? I would love to hear your experience of that. We are on our very last free biohack. So this one is to turn on the blue light filters on your devices. Now, I've done a whole episode before on how we can biohack the hormone of darkness. That's called melatonin. I think it's one of my very earlier episodes, probably 10 or under. But that is a really deep dive on what I'm going to talk about. But essentially, here's what we need to know. There is a spectrum of light called blue light that comes from all of our electronic devices. Now, during the day and in the morning, we want a ton of blue light like this flooding our eyes because it keeps us alert and awake. But the problem is, this is happening at night too, and it's really affecting our quality of sleep, which affects so many things from our mood to our health, to our ability to be focused and present in our businesses. So we want to make sure that we are using technology to our advantage as well. So what can you do? Completely free. There is an app called Flux that you can download onto your desktop or your laptop computers that actually pulls out all of the blue light from your screens, and you can set it to a schedule. So mine is always set for 6 p.m. So after 6 p.m., this app actually goes in and removes the blue light from my screen. So should I happen to be looking at my computer, then the blue light is not having as big of an effect, and it is completely free. Now, when we're talking about our phones or our tablets, they often have built-in apps like this. So some of the names you might look for, I know on the iPads and iPhones, it's called Night Shift currently. On Androids, I've seen it called Night Mode or Blue Light Filter. So turning these things on, setting them on a schedule so you never have to think about them again, is a free way to really protect the quality of your sleep. So go and download all of these. Check your devices tonight. Check your computer, check your phone, check your tablets, and see if you are optimizing the lights on your device so that you can biohack your sleep and your health. So now that we have made it through all 10 completely free, and also did you notice how simple they are? Simple biohacks. I'm so curious, how many of them were you already doing? Were you just like, I do that, I do that, I do that? Recognize that these are all amazing positive things for your health. Now, if you were going through there and you're like, oh, I can still see I need to improve this one and this one and this one, that is a wonderful place to start. So pick one and start today. Now, if you take the time to implement all 10 of these biohacks over time and implement them consistently. It is basically something that costs you nothing, takes very little time. Most of them don't take any extra time, like the blue light filters and listening better. If you can implement these, I will promise that you will feel like a more present and connected human that feels like you are in touch with your well-being. Because I find so many times as entrepreneurs, we get to this point in our life where we've hit the milestones in our business, the 6-figure year, maybe the multi-6-figure year, working towards that $500,000 year. And we get to that point where we're just like, I've been working so hard and it still doesn't feel any better. And we really want to make sure that we're taking the time to look and feel well rested, right? Like I don't want to look back on my business in my 20s and my 30s and realize that I spent it the whole time chasing the numbers at the expense of my health. Like I want to look back on my business in my 20s and 30s and think, oh my gosh, I was so healthy and so energetic and so happy. And I had an amazing business. And I always like to question if you are in this mindset of I don't have enough time to do all of this stuff. I would ask you to question when you decided that it had to be a choice between growing your business and taking care of your health. It does not have to be. And if you want me by your side, holding you accountable, giving you the exact next step so that you can feel well rested and present and focused and alert in your business and start enjoying how you feel in your life now, reach out to me on Instagram, say hi, ask how we can work together, or you can just directly book a call in at TanessaShears.com/call. This program that I have created is so good at helping entrepreneurs really get into the health part of their life while still maintaining a highly successful business. Like I have entrepreneurial clients that have team members of like 10 or 12 people on their team, and they still have time for this. I also work with solopreneurs. Like this is something that can fit into every single lifestyle. So I would love to hear from you, and I would love to help you through this journey of feeling good now, taking control of your health, and feeling exceptionally well rested. So I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week and you get out in the sun, you listen, you walk, you move your body, eat good food, and wake up feeling well rested. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye. Ready to begin each day feeling energized and focused? I'd love to work with you one-on-one. In my Becoming Limitless program, you're going to learn how to optimize your brain and body with science and biohacking so you can be highly productive and grow your business faster. Join me over at TanessaShears.com/work with me. I'll see you there.